Hello and welcome back to Couples Talk. I'm Jonathan Decker.
I'm Alicia Decker.
And with us today are Jason and Tammy Hewlett, who are joining us to talk about how to have a healthy relationship when things get hard. And we talked about in our last segment that there's this perception that happy couples either don't have challenges or the challenges are all external and the couples are just smooth sailing all the time. And we were working on the assumption that that wasn't the case and that all couples have internal struggles. Apparently you guys don't, so that's fantastic.
Right.
Way to live that dream.
Right.
What I really want to address is you brought up how your business, which is motivational speaking, entrepreneur, entertainer, all wrapped up in one, right? And how your business shifted dramatically with COVID-19 and the pandemic. And I think that's true for a lot of people watching at home, their way of doing business and being cramped at home with their family.
Just tons of career shifts, profession, working at home, not working at home, losing jobs.
Yeah. And even as you know, there's a vaccine and life is presumably, maybe hopefully returning to some sort of state of normalcy, the world has changed and shifted dramatically in a sense that I don't think it's ever going to fully go back to the way it was before. Can we talk about how you two managed the change as a couple, how it affected your relationship, and how it's preparing you for the future with any other dramatic changes in this hellscape of a world we live in?
Well, you know, I was used to traveling when we had young children. I was doing 200 dates a year on the road, traveling all over the world.
Yeah.
And then she was staying home with the kids. I slowly cut that back to about 150 dates a year, then 100 a year. As the kids grew up, I realized I'm missing out on a lot, right? So I just charge my fee a little bit higher and do less events on the road. Eventually, I got to this place where I'm speaking, doing keynotes, making a little bit more per event. So I was averaging between 60 to 80 gigs a year. And then all of a sudden, 2020, boom. I got a call early March, every gig is gone. All of them canceled.
Yeah. And
now for a person that doesn't understand what that means, you're usually living off of the deposits of what you're supposed to be doing in the future. And so now I'm returning all of this money, and
some of it you spent already
had pretty much lived on. Yeah. And so it's this disturbing thing that happened. Our career was dead in the water right at the beginning of the pandemic. And so it was like, well, now what? And I said to her, I need to figure out how to set up cameras and lights and microphones and do this from my house. And what do you remember about that time? Was I working hard at that?
Oh yeah, he was right away at the very beginning. He went to work. He's like, I've got to shift this because I've got to have a solution. And he's very good at that. He doesn't ever let time go by without figuring things out. And he did. He figured it out.
That's what Alicia teaches our kids, like look for solutions.
Yeah, and he did.
But how many hours a day was I bothering everyone doing that?
Bothering us?
Well, I mean, just
in your office figuring it out,
yeah.
like 12 hours a day.
12, that's all.
Okay,
felt like
more
18.
than that. 18, most days. We didn't see him a lot because he was just figuring things out, and we let him figure it out, and I knew he would figure it out. I don't feel that we ever feared the future, because we just knew that it would work out, and I think that's important for me to show my confidence in him that he would get it figured out, and he did, and he needed our help and support, and we offered that, and it was quite the shift, and he went from, less gigs to a higher fee to any gig that would come for any fee that would come. He really had to shift his.
Start over.
He had to start over. That's what we kept saying. It's like we're 20 years ago. We're starting from scratch here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you had absolute faith and confidence in him. I have to imagine there was still strain from, hey, food would be a good thing. Or did you have food in storage? Like, what were you?
Well, we were cutting things like we never thought we would have to. I mean, we put
especially 20 years into
20 years of
a
success.
career and established and
not really crazy, making no money and then tons of money. It was always pretty much there as a good career. And then all of a sudden it's gone. So what do we have to cut?
Well, we we had to go through a budget, make a budget like we've always have, but this time we really had to stick to it and say, we have to do this. So we went through everything. We went through our credit card statement and cut like every little subscription we've had, our monthly car wash that we used to just drive through and not think about that $30 a month, like
convenience,
right?
The wonderful things.
Realizing that all those little tiny things really did add up.
Probably not eating out very often.
We quit eating out as much, or ever really. I mean, we'd go out maybe once or twice a month.
Did the kids complain about losing some of the perks they'd grown accustomed to?
They're pretty supportive because we're very open with them.
Yeah.
I just say, hey guys, all my work's gone. This is pretty amazing. What are we going to do about it? And
amazing, that's the word you used.
Oh yeah, I was like, this is devastating but amazing, and this is what we get to do about it. Let's make something of this. And in fact, we put together a promotional video of my family being my sound and light team, and it got me so much work. Because to see a kid holding a boom mic, I mean, people were like, oh, this is the cutest thing I've ever seen. Are you really doing this? And I'm like, yeah. Kids, the boys are really holding the camera. My daughter's really helping me come up with the next thing to say. I mean, it was a full-on family shift.
When the going gets tough, the tough exploit their children.
Oh, yeah.
It's not about the exploitation, but I think as parents, and especially as the breadwinner, you feel the responsibility, you feel the weight, and then you're like, well, I have to fix it. And while you went after the solution, to find it, you also enlisted your team, right? Like you enlisted your wife and your children, and you said,
but we've definitely put our kids to work.
Yeah, but it's like, I think it's so powerful when you're having challenges, as whether it's a challenge, for you individually or something that affects the entire family, to go to your family and say, here's the challenge, right? And instead of like, oh no, what are we going to do? This is terrible, right? Saying, here's the amazing opportunity for growth we have. Like, we don't know what the future is going to bring, but I know we're going to grow through that, because we can always grow through challenging, hard, new things.
Yeah.
And that it teaches resiliency, which is not something that I feel is very an active part of our culture. It's about the quick and the easy and the shiny stuff. And so that's needed. I know with individual, in a different vein, but individual challenges that I've had, like family dynamics that weren't working for me, I've been very honest with my kids, and I've said, hey, here's what I'm struggling with. When you behave this way, this is why it's hard for me. And what are your solutions? Like, how can you help? Like, how can we do this together?
Yeah. Well, I think that's really powerful because we societally tend to underestimate the intelligence of children and think we have to put it in kids' terms, or that we can't be straight with them. And I'm not saying we need to be condescending or harsh, but to be able to say, when you act like this or when this happens, it's hard for me because of this. I mean, there have been times where I've said to my kids, I love you. At this precise moment, I'm not really wanting to be around you. And is that the result that you're wanting to get? Which is something, that question, is that the result that you're wanting to get, is something I've learned from you. And they'd be like, no. I'm like, okay, so how can we get a different result? And like, maybe I can stop throat punching my sister. Like, maybe that's
There's some future UFC fighters at our house.
Yeah, we do. We got some aggressive people.
It's well said, and I like that. And I'm thinking, as long as they realize they're part of the journey. Right? That we're all in this together. And that is a cliche now, but for real within our family. It was like, let's have mini meetings every day whenever we need to, because we were all quarantined anyway. What are you doing with the next 3 hours? And what did you do with your day? And hey, by the way, this is what Dad did today. Thank you guys for not being too loud, because I was trying to crank through all this stuff online, and you guys made it possible. And then I would show them the checks when they came in. I was like, look, I got $50.
Look what you did.
Like before, it was like 5-figure checks that they didn't really see because you just deposit.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I got $50 for being online. You know?
His first paid gigs from the office, it was more than 50, wasn't it? Maybe 500, but he was like, this is amazing. Like, I didn't have to leave the house. I got paid for doing this right in the office, and
Didn't you have to put on pants?
No
Just skinny
pants.
basketball
Yeah, no
shorts, you know?
pants.
Were your business on top and casual down below?
That's
I know.
right.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to
yeah,
go.
you just need the good light and right on top. But yeah, it was amazing to watch the kids see the progression of an experiment from zero. I mean, it was a true ground zero moment. And to say, yeah, we can create this. Let's do it. I've never made a penny outside of the house.
Yeah.
Can we? Yeah.
I love the idea of having I mean, we do family meetings every week. I mean, and we'll sit down with our kids every week and talk about their goals and help them with their journals and stuff like that. But I love the idea of being like, okay, so guys, here's what I want to accomplish today. What would you like to accomplish today? And they'll say, well, I want some one-on-one time, and we can have the conversation of, okay, so if I can be left alone for 2 hours, then I can do one-on-one time. But if I keep getting interrupted, that one-on-one time is not going to happen. And figuring that out, that sort of thing. The conversations are crucial. What do you think? This is a question for all three of you. When there is external hardship, it can create internal strain. So how do you navigate that as a couple so that you're facing the world and fighting the world together instead of fighting each other?
Well, let's see. I mean, I'm just thinking having what we were in the middle of was so incredibly daunting. And what was really sad for me as a dad was to take stuff away. You know, the subscriptions or the fun things, you know, like, hey, Christmas might be pretty weak.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do? Or we were going to sell the motorhome, which the motorhome has been our family thing as we travel around.
Yeah.
And that's all tough stuff. So that started to make us, figure out, okay, what is the internal strife? Where is it coming from? And I think it was mostly just everyone's quarantined together, stuck together, sick of each other.
Yeah.
But really coming together and doing those meetings as a family, I think helped a lot. Wouldn't you say? We also did a lot of walks. Did a lot of movies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but a lot of talking.
Yeah.
A ton of
Yeah,
it.
communication has never been better, really, because we were forced to talk about real life stuff that really mattered. So I think our communication and our conversations.
Especially when the Disney Plus gets cut, we better talk and play some board games, everybody, because
I know. Yeah.
We
So
did a lot of puzzles, didn't we? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
what do you think, Alicia?
For me, and this could just be a personal lesson, but it is coming. I have the tendency to feel like I'm taking responsibility. Like ultimately, everything's my responsibility, right? And so having those conversations, and because so often when something isn't working, and at least for me, when I already feel overwhelmed, it just becomes like one more thing to react to instead of consciously responding. And I know that just sounds so cliche, but I have a tendency to feel like I'm responsible and to take responsibility for everything. And it's okay to go to my kids and say, hey, this dynamic isn't working for me. Like, and it hurts my feelings, or it upsets me, when you fight or when you speak to me poorly. And just expressing my love to them, instead of chewing them out and being like, you are so selfish and entitled. And you are so selfish and entitled. How could you treat me this way? Go to them with what's underneath the hurt. Go to them with what's underneath what is initially anger and say, I am hurt and this is how I feel. And then I don't tell them what to do. I ask them for their solutions. But it's the same thing with children because we can see if our children are struggling, especially with some of the dynamics that COVID and pandemic and quarantine have brought up. Sometimes children can express hurt in the most unloving ways. And so I've had lots of conversations with my teenager when he's gotten aggressive and he's gotten rude. And I've said to him, once again, treating me that way, like I love you so much, and here's everything I do to support you. And it feels like right now you're not feeling very supported. So what do you need instead? And responding with the true emotion instead of the reaction of how could you.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful in marriage and in family and just with yourself to recognize that anytime we're angry, we're actually something else. Like the anger is just the mask. It's always sadness or fear or embarrassment or overwhelm or something. And when we communicate that, or when we help others to communicate that, then we actually connect and we resolve things. So we want to hear from you in the comments. How do you help your kids deal with stress and overwhelm? We also want to direct you to our video, how to be BFFs with stress. Stress is actually key for growth. It's like manure. It stinks and nobody likes it, but it's necessary for growth. So how are you going to be BFFs with stress? Once again, let us know in the comments below how you help your kids deal with it. We're going to have the Hewletts join us one more time to talk about raising teenagers. Our kids are just starting to enter that phase, so we could use all the help we can get. And if you enjoy what we're doing here at Mended Light, please like, subscribe, and share. Our entire mission is to help you heal and grow so you can be the best version of yourself. So until next time, keep shining your light because we need you.